When you come into diving, it will ask if you want to add divers for that event. Click Yes to go ahead and do that. The first thing we need to do is set up the diving event. Enter the number of divers, the number of dives, which in a normal dual meet is 6, but for our training purposes we'll do 2, and the number of judges. I'll set mine to 3 since that's standard for a dual meet, but you can set it to whatever you use. Diving is scored based on the NFHS rules for the numbers of judges. Once you have that set up, click the Setup button, and it will add the divers into the diving list. You can click on the names and swipe them and replace them with the name of each diver instead of just diver 1, diver 2. This will make it easier for you to keep track of which diver is currently on the board. You can also preload the dive lists here if you have time. Right-click on each diver's name and type in the dive number, including the letter, into the box. When you are finished, click Done. Once you're sure everything is correct, click the Start button to begin diving. You'll see the first diver in the list is highlighted in green, and their name and current round are listed at the top of the screen. As the announcer reads the first dive number for that diver, you will need to type it into the dive number box unless it was already preloaded, which ours was. If it was preloaded, all you have to do is press Enter to accept it. Our first diver is doing the 203C. Notice that the DD and the description are already listed here. When the judges display their scores, you can type them in. To enter a 4.0, you can either press 4 space or 4 enter. To enter a 4.5, you can either type 4.5 or 4.4. To enter a 3.5, you can type 3.3. Once you've entered the last score, press Enter again or click on the OK button to accept the scores and display them on the scoreboard and move on to the next diver. The green bar now moves to the next diver and the dive number field clears so that you can enter the next dive. Since we did not preload the dives for this diver, we will need to type it in. She is doing a 103B. This diver forgot what she was doing and performed the dive as a tuck, not as a pike, and the judges gave her all zeros. You can either type the zeros into the score boxes or click the Failed button to fail the dive and move on to the next diver. This diver is doing a 103C, and the judges give her a 5, 5, and a 5.5. Oops, I mistyped that dive number and I just now realized it. To go back to the last diver, click Last Dive. This brings the last diver's dive number and scores back so that you can make any corrections to either one. Then click OK to move on to the next diver. Our next diver is doing a 101C. It was a good dive, but she seems to have hurt herself. The coach asks to withdraw her from the competition. Click the Stop button to stop diving. You can then go change her status to Off, so that the next time through the list she will not come up and will be skipped. This is the same way that you handle a disqualification. Once you've changed the status, click the Start button again, and diving will pick up right where it left off. This has been a pretty eventful diving event, so let's just skip ahead to the end. Okay, so here we are at our last diver performing her last dive, which is a 301B. Her scores are 4.5, 5, and 4. When diving is completed, if you are absolutely sure that everything is correct and the scores are right, you can click Yes to score diving. Diving doesn't actually get scored, but the results get sent to GNet so that they can be picked up by the HyTek software. If you need to make any changes to the diving, click No. To make a change to a diving score, whether it's a DD change or a score change, single-click on the total score. That will bring up this screen and it will allow you to change the dive number, the DD, or any of the scores. Once you're finished, click Exit. Don't forget after you've made the changes to click the Score button to send the information to GNet. Diving is the only event in TimeWare that does not automatically send the information to GNet. Now let's take a look at bringing the times into Meet Manager.